In this episode, I am talking about one of my very favourite topics. Some might say topics, some might say obsessions, but it is all about habits and routines that set you up for the best possible day, week, month, quarter, year life. And I'm not doing it alone. I am very excited to welcome my business bestie, Emma Cossey, back to the podcast to talk about all of this good stuff with me. Now, you're about to hear about all of the crazy stuff that goes on behind the scenes of our lives and businesses. And while it's fun, while it's inspiring, I don't want you to feel overwhelmed. I want you to take these as suggestions that you can choose to implement, you can choose to test, or not. Don't try and do all of them, because obviously we've spent years pulling together this stash of habits and we didn't just start doing them all at once. So just bear that in mind as you listen. But apart from that, enjoy. Do you ever feel like you're drowning in a sea of marketing musts and shitty business shoulds? Yeah? Well, you're in the right place. Your Biz, Your Rules is here to help you kick that crap out of the road so you can build your biz your way. So I'm very excited to get stuck into our very first interview of 2019. This time it is once again with our most popular guest. This is her third time on the show, Emma Cossey. Hello, welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
So, like I said in the intro, Emma is a coach for freelancers. She has an amazing Facebook group. She has a killer resource academy called the Freelance Life Stash, which you should absolutely check out. And she's also great on Instagram and always has really cool apps and stuff on there. Great recommendations. So I'll leave links to all of those things in the show notes. And now I'll stop babbling and talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is habits. We are big fans of habits and rituals and routines and all of that fun stuff. So today we thought we would jump on and talk to you guys all about the different habits that we feel set us up for success.
Excellent.
Now I'm going to let you talk, Emma.
So what do you want me to do? Do you want me to kick off with yearly ones?
Yeah, I was just thinking about a really awkward question that I could ask you, but maybe I won't.
Go on.
Okay, so we talked about how these habits set us up for success. What does success mean to you, Emma? What does it mean?
Wow. Okay, you mean awkward as in cringe rather than awkward as in I won't want an answer. Okay. Success for me is running a business that I love, which I do, earning enough that I can run the business through childcare, having childcare and things like that, but also get to spend time with my son, be comfortable. It's security without being in a traditional job, I guess. But I think happiness is at the key of it. If you're not happy, that's not success to me. What about you?
I would say success means having no complaints.
Ooh, is that possible?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Maybe I'm a bit
Like if somebody, I feel like if somebody walked in and said, "How are you today?" and I could say, "I've got no complaints," that is success.
I like that. Yeah. Yeah, I think the nice thing about success is it's completely different for every person, isn't it? I mean, if everyone had the same idea of success, it'd be a very boring world, and we'd all want to do the same thing, and we couldn't. So.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people perceive success as being very attached to money.
Yeah.
But then if you really dig into it, it's not necessarily the money that makes you feel successful.
No, I mean, you look at people who win the lottery. Technically, they have money, so they could be considered to be successful. But a lot of them, because they have ingrained money issues, they end up being miserable because of it, because, various different things. So I don't think money is the be all and end all.
And on that note, before we fall into a chat all about money, because that's let's get back to habits. So do you have any habits that you do on an annual basis to really set you up well?
I mean, I have started a new one where I have a half-day session with you. So that's going to be my new annual kind of habit to get all my content plans out for the month, out for the year. What sorts of things? reviewing the year. I tend to do that on a monthly basis as well, but definitely having an annual review is a really nice thing to do. I think when it comes to the end of the year, it can feel a little bit like, I don't know, the kind of the media perception is that you haven't succeeded in whatever you've done, and being able to review the year and seeing all your successes and all the great things you've done and the achievements is a really good thing to do, rather than feeling like you have to be a brand new person in the new year. Being able to review that will show that you don't. You just need to build on what you've already done. Does that make any sense at all? Because it felt like
It
a
does.
double.
It's like a babbly way of saying my habit is reviewing my year.
Yes, that's what I should have said. What about yours? Do you have any other ones?
So it's similar. One thing that I do at the end of every year, and I usually do it in that between Christmas and New Year period, is I will work through a strategy workbook that I've got. So at this point, it's kind of an amalgamation of different like freebies I've downloaded, planners that I've bought, and Gemma Went strategy workbook from going through her mastermind. It's a bit of a hybrid because I just keep adding in pages that I like from different. So I do similar. I have a strategy workbook that I go through, and at this point, it is now a hot mess hybrid amalgamation of all of the different downloadables I've swiped, the different like pages from different planners that I've bought over the years, Gemma Went strategy workbook from when I went through her mastermind. I've just sort of inserted pages that I liked from various different sources, and I go through that every year, usually between Christmas and New Year. And it pushes me to do things like review my goals from last year and if I achieved everything I wanted to achieve or not. The products that I sold, the packages that I sold, which ones I enjoyed like working on, which ones I didn't enjoy working on, which ones made more money, that kind of thing. And also just general looking at my habits and routines and lifestyle from the past year, because to me that's a lot more important, because I always think that I started a business so that I could enjoy my actual life, and if I'm not enjoying my life, then there's something wrong.
I think it's just helpful to know you've achieved more than you think sometimes as well. Like bizarre things, like I look back on last year, I didn't think I'd read much, and I've read like 25 books, which for a working mum is not too bad at all. So I think it's always quite handy to do that.
Well, do you know, that's so true, because whenever I'm asked or I ask myself what I've achieved over the past year, it's like blank page syndrome. I cannot think of a single thing. I have to go through like my old Asana to-do list. I have to go through my emails. I don't just know that I've achieved all of these things. And I think that's something when we're talking about habits for the future, that's something that I want to bring in. Like I want to actually be more aware of all of the things I'm achieving as I achieve them, because it's just like they get ticked off a to-do list and then they're gone, it's on to something else.
Absolutely. So what we talk about next? Quarterly?
Yes. We're probably out of annual habits.
Oh, well, can you think of any others? Because I feel like I try not to do too many big ones for annual, because then I get overwhelmed. Like they're too big a goal.
Yeah, I tend to just do that, like working through my strategy annually, and then maybe I'll have a bit of a rejig of all of my content stuff, because as you know, I love all of that, and I'll just shuffle things around maybe and define new plans if I want to, that sort of thing.
And pay your self-assessment, that kind of thing. That's an annual joy.
And then one thing that I always do, always, is set a reading target for the year. And it's a really little thing, but without fail, that's probably the one habit that has been with me for the longest, is I always have a reading goal for the year.
Well, your book club's going to make us hit that goal a little bit more this year.
Maybe. My goal is 100 books this year, and I'm not going to make my book club members read that many.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm starting to feel a bit dizzy.
Yeah. So anyway, let's move on to our quarterly habits.
Oh, okay. So I think like you, big 90-day planner. So setting 90-day goals really, really helps me. So having that time to sit down. I think one thing we learned last year, so when you and I went to this spa weekend with Gemma, having some kind of spa day or break is really, really useful. So I think something like that I might build in. But for me, I'm terrible at taking holidays, so I think having a quarterly holiday would be really beneficial, even if it's just a weekend away somewhere.
Yeah, that's something that I'm trying to do more of this year as well. So obviously people who are listening to this won't be able to see, but I have a wall calendar right next to me, next to my desk. And I booked out in pen, so I can't erase them, a week out of the office in every quarter of the year. And it feels a bit mad. Like this is not something that is a habit yet for me. It's not something I did last year. It feels a bit uncomfortable, but I think it's going to be just really impactful on the way I feel about life in general. And then, like you said, yes, 90-day planning, love that.
Anything else?
Well, I mean, before we move on, I kind of want to ask about your planning because I kind of like talking about planning.
Oh yeah, I love that. Um, yeah, so I use Gemma's what's the spreadsheet she's got that's amazing. She's got, I can't remember what it's called, but she's got this amazing spreadsheet with everything you need in that. So I tend to I try and aim to do it monthly, but I don't. So it's more likely I'm going to sit down and have half a day there doing it quarterly. Um, I then decide what my 3 priorities are for that 90 days, and then break those down into smaller tasks that I can slot in weekly. So that tends to be my process with that. And also, really, really importantly, working out what the reward is for when you've achieved those 3 goals, in order to kind of complete that cycle. If you don't get the reward, you don't acknowledge that you've achieved it, and then you can't move on to the next thing.
Oh, interesting. So I'm not good at rewarding myself for the things. I usually consider my reward to be the satisfaction of ticking something off.
Yeah, I'm not that good a person. I need something. I need a new book, or something like that. I need something that I can look at and go, yeah, I did that.
I might do that. I might add that to my planning mix so I get a treat when I achieve something.
Psychologically, it's much better because then you've, in your mind, completed it. And if you work for somebody and you finished a big project, you'd likely get a bonus or some kind of acknowledgement. So we need to, as self-employed people, acknowledge ourselves.
I'm getting distracted now thinking about possible prizes.
I love that you've gone with prizes now as well.
So I actually do all of my planning in Asana. And the reason I do that, because I do my day-to-day like time management stuff in there, all of my to-do lists are in there. I find it really easy to then, so I identify my big goals and they have a column each, and then I can break them down into all of their little subtasks and just straight away assign them to myself. So on certain dates, so instantly everything's booked out in my calendar, and I do have like the time and space to actually work on the things that will help me achieve my goals. But I have tried so many systems. I've tried so many planning systems, and this is just the one that's really working for me right now.
I'm going to say something controversial as the app queen of being obsessed with tools and things. The last 6 months or so, I've been using notebooks and bullet journals so much more. I find it so much easier to track my goals on paper. I know that's against everything else that I've ever suggested, but like you say, it's just finding the right system for you, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I think I do still have a paper notebook for daily to-do lists.
Yeah.
Because there's just something about crossing things off that makes me giddy.
Made tea, tick.
Had shower, tick.
Made list.
But I just, for making sure, because I think if I just work with a daily to-do list and don't have the overall plan in Asana, it's very easy for me to get distracted by the day-to-day things and doing client work, and I lose focus on those strategic goals. Whereas if I've already got those mapped out and plugged into my diary, I can't get away from them. Like, they're going to happen.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have it booked into your calendar.
So a little bit of both.
Yeah.
A little bit of both. Okay, so I know you have monthly stuff that you do each month. Tell us a little bit about that.
So last Thursday of every month, I have that no, Wednesday, last Wednesday of the month, completely booked out in my calendar as self-care day. So no guilt. So if I want to go and drop off my son to nursery, come back, stay in bed all day watching Netflix, that's fine. If that's what my self-care is. If my self-care needs to be having the day just to declutter the house or clean the house, because it does make me feel good. I'm a very untidy person, but it makes me feel good, and that feeds my self-care. So whatever I need that month, I've got an entire guilt-free day to do that. So that's definitely one of the things I do. I'm just trying to think what we do. So every first of the month, I encourage people or people in my group to book in a nice thing for themselves, a lovely thing, because it's so easy when you're self-employed to get stuck in this work mindset. So we need to book in something nice, even if it's something as simple as a half day off, or going for lunch with a friend, or buying that book that you've got your eye on. But it's better to have it as time rather than as a thing, if that makes sense. So it's definitely another thing. Another habit that's kind of newish is the lovely things inbox folder. So every month I suggest people go through and add any nice praise they've had, recommendations, nice social media posts, pop them in a folder in your inbox or anywhere else like that, so that you've got it to refer to if you need to refer back. I'm sure there's something else, but I can't think what it is at the moment. What are yours?
So, well, some new ones for this year that I'm trying out is, again, like you, having a self-care day, which is really difficult for me because I like, if I sit down on the sofa, I feel like my hands are itching to do something useful. So that's one. And then another one that I'm wanting to do is have a weekly like personal development day or training day, because I think we all buy the books and the courses and listen to the podcast, but how often do you actually set aside the time to implement those things that you've learned, right? So that's something that I really want to have a little bit more of a focus on this year, because there are so many things that I want to do and want to learn how to do, but I just never make that time to actually do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then at the end of each month, this is something that I started, I would say, at the end of last summer. I put together a checklist of things that I wanted to work through on the last day of the month, so that I felt like I was just on it on the first. And I'm just going to open it. I've got it in Asana. I'm going to open it up now and just talk you through that, because I can't remember them all off the top of my head. Okay, so I review the goals in my 90-day plan. I review like my productivity process and like if I'm actually getting things done every day or if I'm having to move them to different days, that sort of thing. I look at all of my like daily routines and rituals, so things like break times, early morning things, switching off for the day, evening rituals, that sort of thing, to make sure that I'm actually doing something that fuels me and not just playing on my phone, as is often the case.
Yeah.
I clear off my desktop, and I mean like the digital one and the physical one. So I'll tidy my actual desk, but then I'll tidy up my hot mess of a desktop, which you can guarantee is always full of like images that I've downloaded from Canva and like random downloadables, PDFs that I've got all over the place, just mess. So I tidy that on both my desktop computer and my laptop, which is probably the part of this whole thing that takes the longest. I also go through my inbox. So I've quite a lean inbox system. So I've got like a money folder, I've got a client folder, and I've got a my business folder. And and I've got like a folder for things that I subscribe to, so newsletters, stuff like that. And so I'll just make a point of quickly through each of those things and following up if things need following up, deleting or archiving, just so that I can start with clean decks. I'll also have a look at the finances, send any manual invoices I need to do, chase unpaid invoices, track any incomings and outgoings that I need to be mindful of, and then just have a little bit of a think about intentions for the month ahead. And in my brain, intentions are different than goals, because goals are like achievable things, and intentions are more about how you want to feel about
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
And so I just have a little think about those and maybe add them to my plan if it's something that I really want to focus on. That's it. And that's my monthly
Wowza.
checklist.
That's amazing. I need to get myself a monthly checklist.
Well, by the time I'm done with that, I have no time for any other monthly habits. So,
The monthly habit of occasionally thinking I should join a fitness class and then going, nah, I could probably just do it at home. I'm not going to do it at home though. So that's basically my monthly habit.
nice. Okay, what about weekly? Is there anything that you commit to doing weekly?
Yes, I love weekly. Okay, so Sunday nights tend to be my planning nights. I love it. I love just sitting down, and my husband has like PlayStation night with his friends and mine as well, so I don't have to feel guilty. So I'll sit down and plan out the week, plan out what's happening. I will usually schedule in my content to my Facebook group and page. So that's all done nicely. And like you, do things like intentions and things, and I revisit my goals, things like that. Monday, I share the goals in the group. Wednesday, we have Pitch That Wednesday, which is a weekly habit to work on your business and get new clients and things like that, or just get that pipeline topped up so you don't have that panic. And Friday, I tend to go in a lot of different groups and do a lot of promotion as well, because most of them will have either Fridays as promotions or lives, or things like that. Yeah, so that tends to be my routine. My routine's slightly different, I guess, because my son's only in nursery Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So it's a shorter week than most people, and that'll probably rejig once he goes to school in September. But that tends to be generally my routine for the week. And obviously all the client work and stuff.
Nice.
How about you?
Oh, okay, weekly. So, well, one thing that I feel like I need to work on having a better weekly habit is my planning, because I used to always do it on a Sunday afternoon, and then it's sort of been pushed forward to a Monday now. And like part of me understands why, because I have like client calls on a Monday morning, so they might have new things that they want me to work on, and I don't want to have to rejig my plan. But it doesn't feel quite as fun as doing it on a Sunday, so I think I need to put a bit more thought into that. On a Monday, I will also sit down and batch out my Instagram posts for the week, so that I can schedule those and don't have to worry about them. And I know that I've always got something going out. On a Tuesday, I always have my virtual co-working call with the Content Arsenal group, which is fun. It keeps me really accountable and just helps me get through all of my admin bits, definitely. And then
Our
obviously,
call as well.
we have our weekly
I
accountability
forgot to
call.
mention that.
As if you forgot to mention it, I'm
I'm
offended.
sorry.
And then Fridays, I like to have those as my business days. So the rest of the week, I'll work on client stuff, but then Fridays, it will be like working on my products, working on my content, doing my finance stuff, admin, all of that not quite so exciting stuff will happen on a Friday. And then I've also, I know I just talked about a monthly checklist. Now I have a weekly one too.
Of course you do. Go on, what's on the weekly?
Okay, I'm going to have to, again, I don't know it off by heart. Let's have a look.
I mean, I'd be disappointed if you didn't have a checklist, if I'm honest.
Yeah. Okay, so this is, so what we're talking about with regards to achievements, it's a lot to do with that, like focusing on that sort of stuff. So my weekly checklist are more like journaling questions. So like, what have I achieved this week? Has this helped me move closer to my goals? Have I committed to visibility this week? How have I prioritized self-care this week? What hasn't gone to plan? What are my priorities for next week? That's what will I do to unwind this weekend, and any big lessons or takeaways. So those are the journaling questions. And then I'll also do things like update my accounting, review all of the random post-its and pieces of paper that I have lying around, because usually I'll, like, if I have an idea in the moment, I'll scribble it down somewhere and then promptly forget about it. So I'm like making it a task to tick off that I have to go through all of that stuff and actually look at it, schedule it in somewhere, and all of that stuff. And then, in my inbox, I also have a pending folder. So anything that needs chasing, that kind of thing. So I've put it on my list to review my pending folder each week.
Nice.
That's it.
Solid list.
So yeah, that is weekly.
Do you have daily?
Of course I have.
Of course. Is there a checklist?
I don't have a daily checklist.
Oh, disappointing. Disappointing. You know what you got to do after this now?
I might have a daily checklist. Let's do you first. What do you do daily?
So there are certain self-care things that I do daily. So take vitamins, meditation is one of mine. I know it's not for everybody, and I'm not the kind of person that can do 20, 30 minutes, but sort of 5-10 minute meditation guided is my jam.
What are your favourite meditations? Do you have an app?
So yeah, Buddhify is fantastic. I did used to really like Calm as well, but Buddhify tends to be more active ones. Like they've got meditations you can do at your computer, like that are around kind of mindfulness and touching the keyboard and things. That sounds really odd, but there's ones about going for a walk at lunch, work breaks. So they're a bit more kind of practical and modern. But I also really love Insight Timer because there's thousands on there, and they're more user submitted. So there's so many ones for different occasions. So like around, I quite like, there's a couple on there for about patience as a parent. Sometimes I need those. But there's ones that are like 1 minute, 2 minute long. So yeah, I really, really love those apps. I don't know how I'd cope without them, to be honest. Gosh, what else? Journaling and writing a to-do list. Just brain dumping, it really helps. I know it's pathetic, but I have drinking water on mine just to remind me, because otherwise my energy levels just fall through the floor. So I need to be drinking water as much as possible. Yeah. And there's kind of daily prompts, like if I'm struggling a bit, there's a few on which are there to motivate me and things like that. But those generally tend to, my daily ones tend to be more about self-care and making sure that I'm able to achieve the goals that I've set in those weekly, monthly, quarterly sessions. So yeah, that tends to be my focus. How about you?
So obviously I've got a little bit of a morning thing that I do, and I'm not great at always following it. It's something that I'm constantly working on. So I'll get up, I will do some journaling, always while drinking lemon water with a pinch of Himalayan pink salt in.
Very Beyonce, yeah.
And then when I'm journaling, I'll do like a big old brain dump of just everything that's swirling around in my brain. And then I might do a gratitude list if I'm feeling it. But I always finish with writing out my list of goals for the day, because I feel like that gets me in the right frame of mind to actually then go and, not my goals for the day, but the goals that I'm working towards generally.
You do sometimes need a daily reminder, because otherwise it's quite easy. Like it's at the top of my my notebooks and my bullet journal, so I can always see it. But if you're not reminded that, it's very easy to let them slip.
Yeah. And then obviously just things like walking the dogs and having a decent breakfast, blah, blah, blah. And then I like to try and do a little bit of tapping every day as well. So I love Marie Holden's scripts for this, because they are designed just for the guys and girls in business. So there's a lot of relevant stuff that comes up. And I particularly like the ones about dealing with money issues and also how to navigate relationships when you're self-employed / a workaholic. They are perfect for me.
They're so good. And I think actually I've always kind of seen EFT as like active meditation, and that it helps you work through things and calm your mind, but in quite, like, if you're like, I know both of us are not brilliant at just relaxing and letting go. So having EFT allows you to still do some kind of movement, but calm your mind as well. She's brilliant, man.
And then other daily things, I always like have it scheduled in to have a break. And this is something that I so often just ignore in my calendar, but it's something that I'm really trying to make more of a reality. So to have a break every single day, mid-morning. And then I also have a hard and fast like end of the day time as well. So I will shut everything down at that time and be gone. And I'm really trying hard to make that a non-negotiable.
I mean, you introduced that what, 6 months ago, and you are pretty good about sticking to it generally.
Generally. Sometimes I will move to the sofa and just sneakily do a couple of things there so no one can see me.
Yeah, like if you do it on your phone, it doesn't count.
Yeah. But I think those are the kind of ongoing habits that I just need to be aware of, that's what I want to do. And then right now I'm also doing, so I'm doing, God, I don't know her actual real name, Yoga with Adrian on YouTube.
Adrian.
Well, Adrian, like, yeah, she's called Adrian, but Adrian something. I
Oh
can't.
yeah, no, I can't.
Oh,
But if you say
Adrian Mishler.
right.
Adrian Mishler. So she does these like month-long yoga series, like a daily yoga challenge. She does them every January and then sometimes dotted throughout the year. And so I am taking part in her January one right now. And what I like is that there's a printable calendar so you can cross off the days, and that kind of thing holds me really accountable. So that's what I'm doing when I finish my work at 3:30, walk the dogs, then do some yoga. That's my little routine that I'm having at the moment.
I definitely feel like I need to do something similar in having a cut-off time. It's difficult because I have, like my son's in childcare from 8 till 6. So I tend to just work all those hours because I only have 3 days a week. But I was just thinking I probably should finish a little bit earlier, but then once he's at school, I have to go back to shorter days anyway. So let's just ignore all that.
So maybe if the cut-off point doesn't work for you, maybe you could commit to having a set number of hours that you do work every day.
Yeah, I think it's either going to be that, or I think it's going to be allowing myself a day a week where I don't work, so that it kind of equates to the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think there's a lot of people now are having Friday. Well, you have Friday just for your business, don't you?
Mm.
But yeah, I think it's quite a good habit for some people to have Friday, you know, if they're not working day or they're catching up on everything else day.
I think particularly if you've got kids, I assume, because I don't, having weekends, it doesn't necessarily always feel like you've had a weekend off because you're taking care of someone else and
No.
got all the house stuff to deal with. And I think you do need that time where you can just be you, a person on your own, chilling.
Oh yeah, I have like 4 days in a row, which is so it's a long weekend basically. My Tuesday, I'm just like, I'm so excited to do some work and use my brain again. But yeah, it definitely would help. I think probably the best thing I did last year was implement that self-care day every month, because that made such a huge difference. It's just something I can look forward to, and I'm quite strict about sticking to it as well. So yeah, whether I make it a weekly thing or not is another thing.
That is quite a lot of habits we have there.
We do, and none of them are drinks or drugs, so it's all good.
Yeah, I think we should get high fives all round for having like healthy, sensible habits going on.
Yeah, I mean, we glossed over some of our bad habits, like nail biting and things like that. But yeah, I think the good habits outweigh them.
Well, thank you for coming and sharing all of these with me. You've definitely given me some inspiration for tweaks that I can make to mine. Hashtag prizes.
Well, I'm off to make a checklist apparently for my daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly habits.
Nice. Checklists, prizes. I hope you guys have all taken something from today as well. We just like having a chin wag. We get a bit rambly, but we're not ashamed of it.
No, we get there in the end.
We'll get there in the end. Okay, so that is it from us today. Thank you so much if you've managed to listen to the whole thing. But we understand if you have A, fast forwarded sections, or B, just read the show notes. But thank you, Emma, for joining me. As always, it's been a pleasure to talk with you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
100%.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. I genuinely hope that you enjoyed listening to this episode as much as I enjoyed creating it, because seriously, I love this stuff. Now, if you'd like to take it a little bit further, if you'd like to learn more from me, just have a bit of a chat, or share your thoughts on this show, then please do come find me on Instagram. My handle is @DaraCharlotte. I'll see you there.